Bitches ain't shit and they ain't saying nothing. Bitches ain't shit and they ain't saying nothing. Man, bitches ain't shit and they ain't saying nothing, man. Bitches ain't shit and they ain't saying nothing. Man.
Smokey. It's good, niggas. At it again. Yeah. It's happening. Midweek. Again. Alright. More red pills, niggas. More red pills. Okay? We ain't done with the red pills. I'm gonna keep putting it out there. This shit here is the red pill. Make no mistake about it. Niggas and bitches. Bitches and niggas. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you here with me. Y'all done fucked up. Eloquently petty, articulate assholery. My name is Marcus Aurelius. This is the Keep It 100 channel. Alright. And today's topic is old niggas gotta go. Old niggas gotta go. Old niggas gotta go. And we did Gen A. Generation A. Where I spoke to the Generation A niggas. Old niggas gotta go. And this is open. We opening this up. Okay? We ain't gonna be here all night. But we gonna open this up. Cause I wanna hear from niggas. This ain't all gonna be on me. Let me shout out some of my peoples. Alright? First of all, shout out to the Roger Report. He was on earlier. I was on there. We had a conversation. And then we had another conversation. And some of those things will be addressed tonight. Okay? Yeah, we had another conversation. We had a conversation, then we had a conversation. Shout out to the Roger Report, you know. He was on earlier and we had a discussion, you know, and usual agreements, the usual differences of opinion. But, you know, it's all about, you know, I ain't with the echo chamber shit. You know, I'm really about hearing what motherfuckers got on their minds. But I'm with solutions that make sense. Okay? That's all I'm with. A few things I want to touch on, right? I ain't got no images and none of that shit set up. Before I get into that, I'm gonna shout out some people. Mike, I see you. Ferg, what's going on? Brandon Hayes, what's going on? I see you. JB Desires was good. Dre was good. I see you. My man Rob is in the building. If you are not already following, Black Light Revelations 2. You need to. Okay? All right, Adric is in the building. What's going on, man? I don't know if y'all been keeping up with my shorts, but if you have not been keeping up with my shorts, I know everybody fucks with the community tab, but I'm trying to do a short a day. Trying. Busy. But I'm trying to do a short a day. All right, shout out to you. My man Detro, he was in the building earlier. What's going on, man? All right. Who else is in here? Will, I see you, man. What's going on, bro? All right. Who else is in here? Who else is in here? Ghetto User, what's popping, man? Cynical Optimist, what's going on? Vegas Dad, what's happening? Spawn, what's happening, man? Said naked nigga on the wall. Who's the fakest of them all? So I'm gonna start off by saying this. I ain't about to shoot at niggas. Kinda. But this ain't about anybody in particular. Okay, this is a general topic, and I want to have conversation because old is just not about age. Old is also, it's kind of a colloquialism, at least in this context that I'm going to use it in. Traditional. All right, and some of this we discussed earlier. I discussed with Raj and a couple of dudes behind the scenes. Hopefully they in here tonight. Dollar Washer, what's going on, bro? Dollar Washer, what a fucking name. Dollar Washer. That's a fire screen name, bro. I'm going to keep it real with you. All right, who else is in here? Caden the God. All right, what's going on, bro? Dolomite. What's happening? Red Pill Mixed Breed. What's going on, Leon? I see you. All right, TCW. I see you, bro. My man TCW. I see you, bro. So, yeah, naked nigga on the wall. Who the fakest of them all? Listen. Let's go through a few of these current events. So, my man Tyrese got hemmed up for child support. Y'all seen that shit? They hemmed this nigga up for child support. It's one story, right? It's one of the stories, right? What else is going on? What's the other thing that's going on? Shit. I heard, and there's a rumor, right? The rumor, the brat's wife was getting popped off by some nigga, right? I don't know where this rumor came from. They saying it's bullshit, but they supposed to say that. Just like Steve Harvey supposed to say nobody ain't fucking his wife. I don't know where these rumors come from. You know what I'm saying? Where these shit come? Hey, we stronger than your credit score. We stronger than this. We stronger than that. Okay. All right. All I know is, look, that, stud, femme shit, I done, you know what I'm saying? I done did my thing with the studs and the femmes. So, it wouldn't be surprising to me if that shit was going down like that. Wouldn't be surprising at all. You know what I'm saying? Check this out. Now, I'm late on this, right? While I'm trying to think of some other things that happened this week, because I don't have a list in front of me. You know what? I have my memo, so I'm going to read from my memo. Who knows? And I know I'm super late with this. Don't get me. But who's aware of the dude Woody, right? Little Woody from the YSL shit, right? Yo, I'm late, bro. I'm super late with that. I've been watching this nigga's testimony videos for a couple of days now. I just got on to this dude, right? Yo, look. This dude right here, like, who's seen this stuff? I might have to pull some of it into... I might have to share some of these videos, like the highlights of this motherfucker's testimony in this YSL case. Yo, this shit is classic. Yo, this is the wildest motherfucker I've ever seen sit in a courtroom on the witness stand and testify. He better than Lil Wayne. Yo, when Lil Wayne did what he did, you know what I'm saying? Speaking of Lil Wayne, we're going to go into that Super Bowl shit, because that's some current news. we all remember the tape of Lil Wayne, and everything they asked him, he's like, I don't recall, I don't recall, I don't recall, I don't recall. Yo, Lil Wayne was great, loved it, but he ain't got shit on this motherfucker here, bro. Hold on, I got to do it. I got to do it at the risk, right, of a strike. At the risk of a strike, right? I'm gonna pull up some of the highlights of this Little Woody shit, right? This shit, let me see if I get the highlight reel. This dude is wild. If you have not heard of this dude, put a one in the chat. I want to know who doesn't know who the fuck I'm talking about. I want to see ones in the chat for people who don't know, because I'm late. I just got up on this motherfucker. But, yo, this dude is incredible. If you do a crime, do it with him, because, he going to tell, then he ain't going to tell. Now, they calling him a snitch. Lately, he's been running with Charleston White. So, if y'all don't know who Woody is, if y'all haven't seen this little dude with the bald head that they got on these he's like the new Flavor Flav now. And I'm seeing this dude pop up, and I'm like, yo, who is this dude? Where does he come from? Yo, YSL. Yo, we about to go into it. Let me pull this dude's I'm about to pull this video up, man. You gotta see this shit. All you gotta do is type Little Woody in on a motherfucker in YouTube, man. But this dude's one of the motherfucking most entertaining motherfuckers on the internet right now. So you see this dude, right? So I'm gonna enlarge this, right? Let me enlarge that. Right? So this is like essentially, like, you look at him, he don't look like much, but he's a shooter. He don't look like much, but he's a shooter. Okay? This dude is a killer. Don't look at that face and be like, hey, I slapped shit out of it. No, this motherfucker's a killer. Okay? So, this is the top 50 Lil Woody moments, right? We ain't about to watch the whole thing, but we gotta watch a little bit of this shit. Let's go. We get the sound on it. This motherfucker's incredible.
Why did you shrug your shoulder?
Cut in my shoulders.
What is 372?
Numbers.
And does the 372 correspond to the letters of DRC on the phone pad?
It could. I gotta look at the phone pad. How do you look at the phone pad to tell? You gotta be specific.
Sure. Would the two of you go out?
I go out with anybody, even you.
I'm not asking about me.
64 Echo Hotel and 164 Echo.
Get back.
All right, wasn't that?
If he said I said it, I said it.
And is that true or that not true that you left her home around 5 o'clock?
If you notice something about me, I don't keep up with the time or the days. I just go with the flow.
Is it your desire to release your counsel at this point in time?
She fired.
She's fired? Okay.
How old are you?
Grown.
Okay, what does grown mean?
I'm an adult.
Okay. And when you say you're an adult, what number in years are you?
I plead the fifth.
This nigga's the greatest. This motherfucker's the greatest. He's the greatest. And is it me? Hold on, a little bit more.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I get you?
Okay, but you had the beef with Kel. Why not say it was Kel?
Cause I had to convince them. I gotta make it seem. If I say Kel shot me, they gonna how you know? How Kel know where you stay at? So I gotta come up with something to make them know. Okay, well Tay been over here. You know what I mean? So okay, Tay. I don't know. Like,
But
listen, you keep asking me. I told you I don't know who shot at me.
when's the first time that you recall meeting Young Thug?
At the studio.
And roughly, about what year are we talking about?
Before I went to jail.
Which time?
Right.
Roughly 14 years. You know.
Well, I've been in jail most of that time, so
Did you all speak while you were in jail?
a few times.
So your friendship didn't stop just because you went to jail.
What you mean?
Did your friendship stop just because you went to jail?
Who
Or
determined when a friendship start and stop? You had to ask that again because I ain't for sure what you're asking.
This shit is great.
I'll ask you again. 2014, 2015. Have you ever? I'll wait till you finish.
I'm tired.
You and I both. While y'all were in school, did y'all develop a friendship?
Nope.
Okay. At some point in time, did you ever develop a friendship with Shannon?
Yeah.
Okay. When was that?
I don't know when, but at one point we became cool.
Okay. And when you say cool, what do you mean?
COOL.
I didn't ask you to spell it. I asked you what you mean. So you say you don't remember telling him about what happened at?
But if he said that, I told him that. I'm telling you right now, I told him that. So can you start asking me what I supposed to told Detective Thorpe? Because I'm telling you now, if he said that I said anything about anything, I'm telling you, more likely I probably did.
Great. Well, I'm going to ask you about all the things that you talked to Detective Thorpe about. Now, Ms. Coleman, do you have a nickname?
Look at the face. Yo. At one point, they asked him, right? At one point, they asked him, was Young Thug mad about some shit? They asked him how he felt about, was Young Thug mad that you did X, Y, Z, whatever. You know what this motherfucker did? And this is somewhere in this video, too. This shit is 21 minutes long. We ain't got 21 minutes. This motherfucker turned around and asked Thug, was you mad about the thing that This dude is the greatest. I swear to God, if y'all watch some of these videos, this dude right here, trust me, it's entertaining. Trust me. I was watching it in the fucking living room. Trust me. This dude right here is the fucking greatest ever. Oh, man. What's cool? COOL. And what makes it worse is she sucks. She's trash. Like, was you in a gang? Was a gang. A group of people was a group of people. Why the fuck, if he asks what's a gang, why would you say a group of people? And then after this motherfucker say what's a group of people, she continues later on in the case to continue to define a gang as a group of people, knowing he gonna be like, well, what is a group of people? He's just setting this motherfucker up to give you a hard time. By the way, he's in the jail jacket because he got contempt of court. They threw his ass in jail for contempt of court. But who gives a fuck? Like, this dude is fucking psycho or he's a genius. Or both. Right? At any rate. This dude is great. Little Woody. I'm telling you. Little Woody. At any rate, let's get about it. Let's get about this shit, man. Check them shits out. At any rate, let me get on these super chats, man. Shout out to two guys. Leon said Woody is a murderer and women love him like he's Charles Mills Manson. We cannot make this up. It's facts. They got this dude with the broad. It's crazy. They doing Flavor of Love with this nigga type shit, right? Kobe was good, bro. Said Woody isn't about that life all-star. He's must-see TV. You can't help but watch. Yeah, Marcus, you back, no doubt. But yeah, I just got on to this dude, bro. Now my fucking feed is full of Lil Woody shit. But what's good with these YSL niggas? Yo, ATL, if you in the building, this dude's named Lil Woody. They murdered a dude named Big Nut. And there's another dude named Lil D. What's going on with these names, bro? Lil Woody, Big Nut, and Little D? Pause. Fuck is going on, man? Fuck going on here, man? At any rate, so I want to know how y'all feel about this whole Super Bowl debacle with Lil Wayne. All right, so, they announced that Kendrick Lamar is doing the Super Bowl. Thank you for the super chat, gents. All right. They announced that Kendrick Lamar is going to do the Super Bowl. Okay? Kendrick Lamar is going to do the Super Bowl. Now, it's fucking September and they announced who's going to do the Super Bowl. First of all, I feel like it's kind of early to be announcing that. But, I see you. How could I forget? Shout out to my man, Ty City. Ty City. Now, this shit is called Old Niggas Gotta Go. Okay? So, another Ty City phrase. Another Ty City phrase. Ty City like, I see somebody using my shit. Let me see what this shit is about. I see the eyeball. Let me see what the fuck going on in here. Niggas talking about old niggas gotta go. Nigga, that's trademark, copyright, registered, nigga. So shout out to Ty City. That was supposed to be what I opened with. All right? I had to go to Lil Woody and shit. But shout out to Ty City. Glad to see you in the building. Old niggas gotta go. Matter of fact, I'm gonna open this up soon, Ty. And if you want to jump up here, man, it'd be cool if you could jump in here at some point. Right? But and give us the old niggas gotta go from your perspective. But I got my own views on it and shit like that. But let me see. Said I was listening for the Wayne Kendrick take. Okay. So let's go there. Right? So this is the thing, right? Now, Kendrick Lamar is doing the Super Bowl. He gonna do the halftime show. Right? So, of course, Super Bowl is in Louisiana. Right? Louisiana, right? So there's a lot of upset people that feel like, when LA had the Super Bowl, y'all did the LA halftime show. Okay, right. So now it's in Louisiana. Where's that Louisiana halftime show? Instead, you double down on the LA, right? So my first reaction to this was, are we going to hear, they ain't like us like 8 times again? Like this nigga going to get on there, wop, 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 wop. Like we got to hear that shit 8 times at the Super Bowl again. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to No Placeholder. I see you, bro. Thank you for the super sticker, man. So that was my first reaction. But then I started seeing some of the takes on it. Like this is an issue. Like motherfuckers going crazy. Nicki Minaj is going crazy. Cam done spoke on it. A lot of people done spoke on this shit. So basically, this is what it is. The general consensus is because Jay-Z is high ranking in these halftime shows that people feel like Hove is hating on having Wayne perform at the Super Bowl. This is the general consensus. Wayne can't perform at the Super Bowl because Jay-Z at some point had an issue with him and, now he's hating. He don't want to let him on, right? Okay, that's the general consensus, right? Now, some other people brought up this, that when Wayne was in the hole for them taxes, who bailed him out? None of these people that's talking right now. The same guy that is being accused of hating on him is the one that paid his taxes for him. Now, I don't know under what premise or what he got from it, but from what I understand, Jay-Z, the guy that everybody say don't do shit for nobody, paid Lil Wayne's taxes for him. It's just facts. This happened, right? Right now, I'm just laying it out. I haven't given an opinion yet of any of this. I'm just letting you know, for the motherfuckers who don't know, if there's anybody here that doesn't know what's going on, right? So, at any rate, my question is this, right? With all that taken into account, right? We understand Jay-Z got pulled in this situation. I'm hearing different accounts of who actually decides who performs at the Super Bowl. Because we see Hov there, the first person we think of is Hov. Being one, hey, my man Doc Strange, what's going on? The mad professor's in the building. What's popping, man? I'm like, yo, who that? You know what I'm saying? So, hey, Adrian, I see you, bro. I see you. He said, stop hating Kendrick. So, in my opinion, okay, so now I'm going to give my opinion on a few things. Right? You did LA. You could have had Kendrick in LA. You could have had Kendrick in LA. Right? If y'all wanted to do Kendrick. Right? For me, the they ain't like us, they not like us moment, it's kind of over. Like, I don't know what it is for anybody else, but I feel like they dragging it. Another thing, Usher had it in Vegas. We just had the Super Bowl in Vegas. Now, they ain't no Vegas artist, but because Usher has a residency here, it kind of made sense. Right? So they did Usher in Vegas. They did, Death Row, Aftermath, whatever, in LA. Now you in Louisiana. It only makes sense to do it that way. To have Wayne do it. Because not only is his catalog much bigger than Kendrick Lamar's, but he's from the city. It just makes sense, right? It just makes sense. Now, whether or not Jay-Z is hating, I mean, the man hasn't spoken on it. We're assuming, and everybody's going crazy saying, yo, yeah, this is Hov hating or whatever. I'm not saying it isn't that. I'm saying we don't know. We don't know. We don't know whose idea it was to put Kendrick up as opposed to Wayne. We don't know. We know how it feels, but we don't know because Jay-Z ain't come out and say how he feels on it, right? So that's where we're at with that. But shout out to Revelator. All right, no doubt. Appreciate it. So at any rate, and Ty, if you're around, if you can come up, I want you to speak to that and then the topic at hand, right? So I'm gonna get started with this main discussion, right? So old niggas gotta go. And this is my feelings on this, right? It's just like the Gen A discussion, right? It is my feeling that most of these conversations that we have in this space, right? A lot of the things that we discuss is not relevant to men of a certain age or women of a certain age. A lot of the stuff that we talk about is really about generations after us, right? Okay. I already made or stated the position that the generations after us are not as, they're not playing the game that Gen X played. They're not. It's not, and as time goes on, you're going to see less of that. So, all these conversations about saving the community and all of this is a moot point because number one, most of the guys who are saying it are past prime dudes. Past prime dudes. Nobody cares about, who you date, who you marry. Like, you're done, bro. You're out of the game. Right? Most of us. Okay? I'm not even pretending this is about me neither. Right? It's about the generations after us. And I've said before, and I'll say it again, my purpose, if the manosphere is here for some other reason, because everybody got a different reason they think the manosphere is here or what function or purpose is supposed to serve. Everybody got their own, personal point of view of what this shit is supposed to do. What I'm here for is to give younger dudes the game that either they ain't getting at home because they surrounded by a bunch of women, right? I'm here to tell them, it ain't you. Take a commercial pause. I'm here to tell the young dudes that it ain't you. I'm here to give them information that they need, right? Because you got a lot of lies about black men and young black men swirling around here, and they need information to counter that, okay? So that's what I'm here for, amongst other things, right? Tell them what kind of women to avoid, et cetera, et cetera. I'm here to talk to them. I'm here to give the game to the young niggas. If niggas are here, and this is what I mean, there's a group of men here who are using the manosphere to talk to young dudes to try to get them in some infantry position to go save something, convert something, rejuvenate something. They're trying to send the young dudes on a mission that they failed at. Okay? They're trying to send these dudes out there to fight the black woman, right? To fight the black woman for the community, for the soul, the heart and soul of the community, right? They want to send these guys out there to do the same thing. They're not even giving them a new strategy. They sending them out there to do the same things that they failed doing. Get money, provide and this and that. Same old tired mating strategy. And these young men are not dealing with the same women that these men dealt with. And these older men couldn't even get the women in their generation to act right. They couldn't even do it. So when I hear people say the purpose of the space is to XYZ and XYZ is what I just described, I have a problem with that. Because to me, you care more about your failed dream and aspiration of a community than you do about the real lives and forward movement of these men that you're talking to. Also, there's a lot of guys in this space that think the space is for that reason. I have debates with guys like this all the time. Might have some tonight. I've said dozens of times, we are not here to convert bitches back into wives. We're not here for that. Now, I'm not as popular as I used to be, and there's a reason, because I say these things, and the increasing sentiment in the space is that's what we're here to do. I say unpopular shit. Okay? At the end of the day, these niggas gotta go. It's my belief that as time passes, as cold as this is to say, as these niggas die off, then they'll be out of listening range for these young men. Shout out to, Bishop J. Jermaine with notification gang is hating. Yeah, I'm shadow banned, bro. So if whoever didn't get the notification, if you don't have, number one, click like on the video. Number two, if you ain't got the bell on this motherfucker, like put the all notifications, turn all notifications on for this channel. Shout out to Anubis. What's going on, bro? All right. So let me see. He said, damn, so you fell off. Hey, look. Well, how many people we got in here? We got 67 people. 67 people up in here probably think I'm gonna be like, BGS ain't shit, right? The old niggas gotta go. Well, there's a resident old nigga here, and maybe they think I'm gonna talk about him tonight. Look, I don't know. Niggas fuck with me or they don't. Doesn't matter to me. I'm good. What I'm saying is, it's a lot of cats in this space that ain't appreciating that part of it. This shit is becoming increasingly more and more and more blue pill. This is not like when you hear people say the manosphere is dead, what they really mean to say is, and I told Tito this, is hijacked. I told the leaders of this space this over a year ago, that the manosphere space is hijacked. Masante Bey, who we don't speak anymore, said that a lot of these guys are in the manosphere, in the space. We said this. And the leadership said, we don't care. That's what the leadership said. So, they don't care because this is who makes up your views. This is who makes up your super chats. This is who, is in your Patreon and shit like that. You don't want to offend the guys who support you. You know they're there, but you don't say this out loud because you don't want to offend these guys. Now, I'm of the belief that you can't tell the truth and not offend, right? Let's keep it 100. So I'm keeping it 100. And y'all not going to feel everything that I say. But it is my belief that, there's an increasing number of motherfuckers in this space that are not here for any sort of empowerment, any sort of forward movement, any of that shit. They're really here to negotiate. No matter what they say. Now, I don't know if it's the 80% BGS is talking about, but I'm just saying they're here. They're here. And that's what it is. So that's what we talking about, whether it be the age factor, generational, boomers or Gen X, or if you just have, traditionally minded men that as a man, right? Because that's one of our big phrases, as a man, blah, 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 blah. So on that note, right? First person I want to get him early, right? Hey, Ty, you still here? Let me know if you still here. You the first person I want up. And then we going to make it open panel. Because I want to get right to it. JB Desire says, old niggas will tell us to SBE and get them back to the table. But from what I hear, there were plenty of married women at Freaknik. I'll get out of there, though. Now, if you are watching my my shorts, y'all see the chick that got the whole child support finesse going. Then I posted another short today of a woman who's basically saying that she married the dude that she that was taking care of her, doing this and that, right? But us as women, we get tired of these dudes. We ain't really feeling them, but they doing what they doing for us. But we got to get our shit together so we can leave them, right? And what a lot of men don't want to, accept is that even if you are the dude, the provider dude, and I say this all the time, don't be the provider dude, be the desire dude. And then motherfuckers look at me crazy. Well, what you mean, Marcus? What you mean be the desired nigga? It's like, just because you're doing that as a man shit doesn't mean it's going to work. It's like I told Raj, just because you see a woman married to a black man or married, period, it doesn't mean she wanted to be there. It might have suited her needs at the time, but she's planning her exit. All right. Hey, Doc, man. I don't know what you're doing. Hey, look, happy birthday to you, by the way. Doc birthday just passed, y'all. So give him a shout out. Right? And I appreciate you. If you want, I'm about to post a link. If you want to jump up here for a second, you can. Let me see if is Ty. See, I don't even think Ty is around anymore, man. I think Ty done skated out of here, man. Right? So let me throw the link in, man. Let me throw the link in. Let's see who we get up here. But you know, my point is, why feed young dudes to the beast that ate you? Like, the shit fucked you up. Thanks for the super chat, Doc. Mr. Me Too. Salute, keep it 100. My man, Mr. Me Too. Part of that convo we had earlier. Shout out to him. I just put the link up. So, hey, Mr. Me Too, man. You know, if you want to, if we can continue from where we left off if you like, right? Shout out to Ghetto User. Exactly why I listen to your content. Because trying to save the community is a waste of time. I am an OG, which is why I have stayed single the majority of my life. Riding with your content, shout from the rooftop. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, same here. Single most of my life. All right, Brandon Hayes asks, do you feel these older individuals' main issue is convenient flip-flopping? I notice a lot of black men do it in general. This is the thing. I think a lot of black men are conflicted. Right? A lot of them are conflicted. The reason why I jump on flip-floppers is for two reasons. Number one, right? If you're conflicted, it's because you know the shit is a wrap. You want it to be another way, but you know it ain't that way. The 1 minute you're saying this, you know, because you feel this way, and the minute you're saying something else because, you know, you're going back and forth because you're conflicted. It's either that or you're riding with the tide of the moment. You want to cover both bases. I often got into it with cats that'll say one thing, and then they'll say the other thing, and if I catch them on that thing, they can say, well, I said this. Well, you said both things. You double talk, right? You double talk. If you double talking, then you could say with honesty that you said the opposite of what I'm calling you out for saying because you double talked, right? I haven't bumped into anyone yet in this space that could juxtapose me saying something that's in direct conflict with something else, right? Put the two together. I encourage any content creator in the black manosphere. Take something that Marcus said, where he said this and then contradicted himself later. I encourage you to do this with me, right? Unless I change my position on something and I acknowledge that. No, I'm talking about just flip-flopping like I ain't say the other shit. This is my position, right? The other thing is, as far as flip-flopping, and as far other than being conflicted and other than just flip-flopping for whatever content strategy they on, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, yeah, a lot of black men do it in general because, you know, again, like they're dealing with this conversation, right? And then they got to go live a reality. They come into this red pill shit, talking that red pill shit, but they don't take that red pill shit in the world, right? So you're dealing with a lot of that shit. I notice ain't nobody hit that link yet. What's good, man? Shout out to Manosphere Hall of Fame. He said BGS first invited LGBT boys on in 2016. Whoa, okay. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm not against, like, whoever you want to have on your shit, cool. Cool. If the conversation means something. If the conversation means something. Remember that old guy that was bragging about paying all his wife's bills, then later on was on that show because his wife wanted a divorce. Yeah, because he was never home. He was never home. He paying all the bills. In order to pay all the bills for a bunch of motherfuckers, you got to put some hours in. See, that's the paradox, right? Said dudes need to get themselves a consistent circle of FWBs, friends with benefits, to have your fun and protect from diseases. No random hoes. This is the best situation unless you want kids. But see, look, if you want kids now, I saw a lot of dudes flip on Cam and Nick, and I did a video about this last video. But what people gotta understand is these motherfuckers they caught on. Black women cannot, or women in general in America cannot continue to parade, right, their tricks on married niggas and, you know, they baby fathers in front of the world on social media and think that that's not going to have an effect. If they think that the dudes are still going to be marching down aisles and marrying them and giving them access to their wealth, that shit is going to come to an end, because there's going to become a culture of, you got your get the bag sis culture, and then you have your culture of young dudes saying fuck that. So you can shame dudes by calling the shit broken homes when your fake blended family's been a thing forever. Black women have broken more homes than black men. Trust me. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, what my thing is, a lot of these guys that are on this old time shit, trying to push the newer generations, because to them, this traditional shit or this aspirational community shit is more important than dudes' lives, right? So, what is it, Mr. Me Too? Mr. Me Too, I don't know if you want to come up, right? But I'm gonna address something that we were talking about, right? If you don't mind, right? So, what was one of the things that was addressed in today's conversation? I had a few guys that do I believe that in the decades to come that black women, if black men are increasingly, you know, uninterested in having these sorts of relationships with black women as the generations continue, will black women finally be like, you know what? This shit ain't working for us. Let's get on our shit, whatever. And what I told dudes is, as time goes by, there will always be more and more and more mechanisms that give black women a way out, you know, from submitting to black men. They don't want that family situation. And I'm speaking in generalities. They don't want these family situations. They think that, you know, well, damn, if I do this sort of, you know, family structure, because black women have been cultured into not being, you know, they're not conducive. Their mindset is not conducive to that, right? So you know, do I believe that they'll, you know, come around in the decades to come? Two answers: no, and number two, I don't care. I don't care. Right? The problem is, why even ask? In the current reality that we're living in, they're not doing it. So for the men who are wondering, will the black women come around? If it's not going to happen in your time, in your generation, it's not even relevant to you. What will you do in the meantime? See, shout out to Raj, because he says something that I always say. This ain't about changing women. That's why SBE, a lot of times when dudes say we SBE, and there's dudes that SBE, definitely. But for the guys who speak to men, we're talking to men. This channel right here, I'm going to speak for me. I ain't going to speak for nobody else. Marcus speaks to men. Marcus tells men, you're the guy who has to change. You're the person who has to save yourself. Don't wait for women to change. Don't wait for the country to fall apart. Don't wait for nothing. Because you can control, the only thing you control is you. The only thing you control is you. You decide whether to marry, one of these women. You decide whether to have children with one of these women. How long will you wait? How long will you wait? It's not going to happen in your generation, so you got to think about what's going to happen in your lifetime. Oh, I got two guys. I got Spawn and I got Mr. Me Too, right? So let me drop this. Let me stop that screen and then drop this. So I guess Spawn was here first. Let me get you up here, bro. Let me see. So we got Spawn up here and then we got Mr. Me Too. All right. So, all right, this is going to get interesting, right? Got a little panel going. So, what's going on, Spawn?
Yo, what's happening? What's happening? You can hear me, bro? What's good?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear, bro.
All right, man. So what you really want to dive into today, man? Kind of, I know you talking on this old head shit. You know what I'm saying? Just how niggas is, bro. And my perspective is, but I always been saying old heads gotta go to be real, bro. And
Right.
it's not really even being like an old head. It's just like the old head mindset, bro. Cause you got young niggas do too on some fuck shit too. Like when it come on like
Right.
on their perspectives and shit. So I don't really want to put it all on the elderly niggas, but like just the elderly niggas in this space, but it's just been like pulling teeth with these niggas, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm kind of happy that you finally kind of realized like certain niggas around here on some other shit, bro.
So let me also acknowledge this. We got a lot of old heads in here now that feel me, right? A lot of older cats that they see, themselves in the younger cats, right? And they want to not let those younger dudes make any of the mistakes or deal with any of the shit. Cause that's what a lot of the older dudes, right, are here for. Shout out to Electrician 480. Salute, bro. I appreciate super chat, right? So it's just like you said, young dudes, but and when we speak in generalities, guys from the older generation, right? A lot of guys, and some of them are Gen X guys, but mostly from the previous generation, the baby boomers, right? A lot of those guys are still kind of fighting for that thing that they were fighting for back then in their time. It didn't happen then. It didn't happen in the Gen X period, and it's definitely not going to happen now, right? So, before we get into that, right, because we spoke about the Lil Wayne shit, right? I just want to touch on this shit real quick because I want to cover kind of both topics.
Yeah.
Super Bowl shit. How you feel about it, Spawn?
From what you told me, because I didn't, because like when all this information came out.
It's probably been out I think a week now, maybe.
Okay, so I mean I agree with you, bro. Like honestly, Lil Wayne should really perform with somebody from like that city. You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, bro, I'm really good on that Kendrick shit, bro. I mean, sometimes I make a mistake and hop on the radio and I hear that shit playing. I'm like, man, fuck, bro. I'm at the gym, I'm hearing it, bro, and it's a cool track and all, but bro, it's just past its time, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, really got to move on from that shit, bro. And like, we don't really want Cali. I mean, I fuck with California. Don't get me wrong, and they rap, but I ain't gonna lie, we can't really be doing that shit, bro. Like we gotta move on.
Let me ask you, how much of this, and this also, Mr. Me Too, is for you. How much of this trying to stretch the Kendrick Lamar moment for all it's worth is about hate for Drake, according to you?
I think people love
personally, that's
Kendrick
what
more,
it
bro.
is.
Huh?
I think the love for Kendrick, bro.
You say you what?
It's the love for Kendrick. Like that's how I see it. I don't really think it's like the hate for Drake.
You don't think it has nothing to do with it?
No, I don't think it ain't nothing to do with Drake. People just love Kendrick, bro. That's how
What
I
about?
see it.
Well, I believe that. Me too. What you say?
Yeah, I think yeah, they love Kendrick and shit. They love Drake too. That's why I think it's more like of just it's some kind of agenda behind that to keep that going because it was a hot track or a hot moment and it did put a spark in a lot of black folks, you know,
So
and
I'll
it's
say,
through
go ahead.
lines. So I think that's more of that. But as far as Wayne performing in the Super Bowl, yeah, he should, and you know he should be the one performing now. But we can't fault Jigga for that though.
Now Spawn. Now you said people love Kendrick. Now people. So when we say people, we mean fans. Now
Hmm.
when we talk about who's performing at the Super Bowl, that's more of who's behind the scenes conversation. So when
Right.
I say hate for Drake, I'm talking about in the industry, not necessarily the fans, because the fans like who they like,
Oh,
Right,
the
right?
right.
industry. I mean, at this point, the industry been trying to move Drake up out the way for a little minute. Like, I mean, nobody could really move him up out the way, bro. And like, this Kendrick shit really like was a great opportunity for people to like, you know what I'm saying, decide against him, bro. You know, because even with that Meek Mill shit, bro, like, I mean, Drake just been on a run, bro. You know, and like everybody want that number one position, bro. So if they can make him look bad on like in a certain light, bro, like, bro, they just gonna capitalize off it, bro.
All right, so let me get some of these super chats. Black men had a cultural history in America 200 plus years before black women, with African men taking native and Irish wives during that time frame. Black men need to understand themselves outside of black women. My man Maul. He says, as it was, so can it be. What you gentlemen got to say about that? Mr. Me Too first.
Shoot, like you know, we had that convo earlier, but before we did, I was in the chat, and that was one of the things that I had mentioned is that we black men need to stop thinking with black women minds, and we put way too much emphasis on their train of thought. We so much so that we tend to take on that train of thought, and that's destroying us.
Right. Janfar, I don't know where you are, but if at some point you want to jump up here, you are invited. Thanks for the super chat. Mansfield Hall of Fame says, oh, there must be something before this. I'd have to scroll up. Said, then Obsidian contradicted himself as he always does by wanting to bring black women back to the table. But according to people, that was the point of the shit from the beginning.
Oh
The
hell
point,
no, bro. The shit just got derailed, bro. Honestly, you know.
the point, yeah, yeah. But I was told on the stream that the purpose of the manosphere from the beginning, you know, was to bring black women back to the table for a discussion. Right? Sometimes the word negotiation is used, sometimes it's discussion, right? But whatever. So yeah, we were talking earlier about that, right? So my
Dude, my take
uh-huh.
on it. Go ahead, my bad.
No. Go ahead.
I was gonna say my take on that. I don't know about uh for the women now. Like I said earlier, I think this is for the kids. This is for our kids and our kids' kids. These women nowadays are washed. This whole situation with how we deal with women nowadays are washed. What I think our purpose here was, what I thought the purpose here was like Roger said, was to change the minds of men or change the behaviors of men. And by doing that, we're going to influence and change the behaviors of women, in particular, the women that we produce, our kids, our female daughters, and the sons that we're going to raise to deal with those daughters.
So okay, so when you say change the behavior of women to change the behavior of men, pardon me, change the behavior of men to
Right,
change the
right,
behavior of women.
right.
What it sounds like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, is if men stand on business, then the women will change, and then we'll have access to the children, and we'll be able to raise them correctly. Is this what I'm getting?
If the men stand on business, that means we not gonna deal with no women that's gonna have an issue with us, having our children in our home. That's not gonna be an issue. And one of the issues that I was having earlier with the convoys was I kept going like, instead of keeping it in the black community, I took it outside of that as a whole, the society as a whole. But sticking with the black community, yeah, man, we not limited to just these black women. Like I say, these women are washed. I think none of us listening to my voice can argue that. We all gonna agree with that. These
Of
present
course.
women are washed, and probably for another, like I said, another half a generation, those women is garbage too. It's gonna be,
It's gonna be a few
it's gonna
generations.
be, it's gonna be the next couple of generations that we really should be focusing on. So when I be hearing like stuff like, especially with the traditionalism, it need to go. Nah, that to me, that's the last thing that need to go, because that's the only thing that we know for centuries that worked.
When you say, okay, so what part of traditionalism doesn't need to go? I gotta define
That
what before
Go
I
ahead.
disagree with you. I need to know what you're talking about. So I ain't gonna jump and disagree with you because I'm anti-traditionalism. But I just want you to kind of like give it some context before I say whether or not you know.
The whole concept of a husband playing his role and a wife playing her role, and building a family from that foundation.
And that's so husband and wife. In other words, marriage.
Correct. Well, it can be marriage under however you put it. Like me, I done tried the marriage game. I ain't gonna do that again. But I'm not opposed to having long term legal in other avenues union.
As long as it ain't with the state, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right. We can still get the benefits and the protection of the union without fucking with them people.
So let me ask you, what percentage of the black female population you think will sign up for this? What you're talking about, as far as like,
These
you know,
bitches is washed. Nowadays, they'll all of them will sign up if they get to sit at home and do what they think they see on TikTok and all that. All of them will sign up quick. But that's the thing. That's not what that's not what I'm saying. If the, the union that I'm proposing is she gonna have to play her role.
what's her role?
Her role is gonna be my support, my help, doing whatever I need to do to get my goal accomplished for the sake of us.
So you know that's not happening. Now, at least not in our culture.
Right, absolutely.
Okay,
That's our whole problem.
so if not that, because that's a wash, then what? So what is the alternative to that? Because that's a if, a
I mean, that's
hypothetical that
kind of
they.
that's like an individual problem, though. You know what I'm saying? That's not on like the one-to-one basis. I mean, I can't tell you what y'all niggas gonna be doing with me. I'm gonna have it my way. You feel me?
So my
See,
question is this:
go ahead.
because we talk about traditionalism.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay, so you're saying traditionalism doesn't need to go. It's just traditionalism, but not with these women. So, do you think that other groups of women in America are not dealing with some level of this type of shit? Because there's a whole manosphere that's not black that would beg to differ if you don't think so.
I watched this video earlier today. I don't know who this dude was. He was a Muslim dude, but he gave a rundown on the psychosis that what he and I both label, and most people label as the West, this Western culture. And he gave like the best psychosis, like the best rundown of this mess. And to answer your question, I think it is just it's permeated through all of them. All these bros is if they listen to anything from any mainstream anything from the last 60 years, they it's a loss. They lost.
By the
So
way,
go ahead.
I agree, JB. I agree with this this sentiment that I got on the screen right now. I do think that they're using Kendrick against Drake. I do believe that.
Yeah,
But
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
right, so that, yeah, because that's why I kind of asked the question. He said, Marcus and Black Mind are the only content creators I've witnessed in this space be logically consistent at least 90% of the time. I want to know about the 10%. I want to know. I want to know about the 10% of, because it sounds like I flip flop 10% of the time. So like,
Now you be
you know,
wrong sometimes, bro. It's cool. We
huh?
all be wrong sometimes.
You say what now?
Being wrong and flip flopping
Yeah.
is two different things.
Oh, flip
Exactly.
flop. Yeah,
So
yeah. I feel
yeah.
you on
So
that.
where we talking about consistence, I'm curious. Look, I just want somebody to point it out to me. Because if a motherfucker flip flopping, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of these dudes, they say something that is the opposite of some shit they said before, and they probably not even aware of it, right? Shout out to Maggie. She said, this question is from an outside observer or guest. Is there a spectrum from SYSBM to MGTOW to B1? Woo! So she said she's asking, is there a spectrum from SYSBM to MGTOW to B1?
What is B1 again?
B1 is black first.
I mean, to a degree, everybody got their own perspective, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially when it comes to being black first and like wanting the black family, like everybody got their own perspective. So I think it's kind of like a spectrum of like how people see it.
Shout out to CG. He said, "What up?" Let me see.
MGTOW. So tell me what MGTOW really is.
So okay, let's go through some of these terms, right? So SYSBM is Save Yourself Black Man, right? Some people look at SYSBM as get you a white woman, right? That's what a good percentage, a good portion of men feel SYSBM is. Me personally, I think it's a bit more nuanced than that, just on the phrase itself. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to talk about it too long because,
Right.
then MOT come through the brick wall like the Kool-Aid man. Talking about what you talking about. All right. So, all right. That's what SYSBM is, right?
Kool-Aid, man.
For me, it's save yourself. It can mean whatever you need to do. Right? To me, it's the opposite of trying to save the community. It's instead of saving the community, save yourself. Right? Don't try to save this or save that. Save the boys or fuck all that. Save yourself. Because it's like anything else. Before you can save anybody else, you got to save yourself. If you don't save yourself, you can't save a motherfucking thing, right? So, right. So, men going their own way was about, this is what men are supposed to do in this system. Fuck that. We're going over here. We're going to do us. Right? Now, SYSBM, MGTOW, there's similarities. Right? But, then you get guys that say, you could be married in MGTOW. Whatever, man. You get people that come into the situation, they make these terms into what they need them to be so then they can continue to be the thing that they was while wearing the label.
Right.
It's like motherfuckers who come in there and say they red pill, they black pill, they this pill, they whatever pill, and then motherfuckers got to kiss the cook apron on and shit, like in their spare time. Like it's a lot of like I don't want to be called, I want a simp, but I don't want to be called a simp type shit.
Mm-hmm.
But MGTOW is men going their own way, which I would say at some point most of us identified with in the very beginning, right? Men going their own way, like fuck this shit, fuck this, assigned role shit. Just like the women with their feminism, oh, we ain't gonna do this no more. You can't make us do this. We gonna burn these bras and shit like that. men was like, yo, we out here killing ourselves, you know, making sure the bridges don't fall down and the buildings don't collapse and the water keep running and the lights stay on and shit like that. And we ain't getting shit back for it in the form of any sort of respect, any guarantees, any of this, any of that. So fuck this. Like, I'm gonna go my own way. I'm gonna do my thing. B1 is fight the power. All right. B1, and I want dudes to listen, if you know, because we got a lot of B1 dudes in the black manosphere masquerading as red pill. B1 is black first, not men first, not nothing else first, black first, which means, you know what? Fuck anything that got to do with my manhood, this and that, men's rights, whatever the case may be. I'm identifying as black first, which means I'm putting all other identities behind that. Black women are women first. Don't get it twisted. They're women first. They're not black first. They're not black. They're women first.
Shit,
They're black after. You say what?
They'll tell you that.
Right. So they are women first. So, you know, what we've established is BM1, black men first. Right? You say men first, it sounds good, but, you know, you can't get away from being a black man, right? And the realities of that. So you say black men first. Because if you put black men first, then everything else kind of lines up. You got a bunch of black men, especially in these conversations, talking about, yo, we need to get the women in order so we can save the community and this and that. I dare any one of you to go into any conversation where ain't nothing but women. Women ain't talking about, yo, we got to get the men back so we get the community in it. They ain't talking about none of that shit. Now, the women who are part of B1, right? They're there because the B1 dudes worship the shit out of them. Y'all queens, you goddesses, you know, you're the this and that.
Grand Rising Queen, pro-black niggas, you know.
Right. They there for that. You know what I'm saying? But in these conversations outside of that, where you said prioritize yourself in a nutshell. Absolutely. All right.
Yeah, I think the answer, Maggie's question, like, it's why that's to me, that seemed like I don't agree with that. You save yourself, black man. What are you saving yourself for and from? I know you supposedly be saving yourself from the ills of the community. I get that, but where you gonna evolve to? What's your next step from there?
Well, we already discussed that. First.
I mean, I'll be up to that said person, but that's up to that individual, though. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yo, I wanna give,
you just gotta leave it up to them. But
yo, I want to give my man a shout out. Shout out to my man Think a Mill podcast. Yo, this is my guy. I know him in real life. My man has an Instagram where, yo, like, he's killing it on IG. Think a Mill podcast. All this shit that we're talking about. Glad to see you in here, bro. Right? And he's kind of like the generation that I'm talking about. You understand what I'm saying? So this is why I do it. To tell these younger cats, yo, bob and weave the bullshit. Now, to answer your question, and good to see you in here, bro. Good to see you in here. If you want to come up, let me know, because I can send you the link. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Me Too, your question was, where do you go after what? Saving yourself?
Yeah, like you said, what's the next step? You saving yourself to do what?
Whatever it is you want to do. If you're a family guy, do a family. I mean, but saving yourself, starting a family under the save yourself ideology means don't do it in the manner that you've seen other men destroyed in. That's what that means. So when you ask the question, it almost implies that you got some duty to someone other than yourself. Right?
No. I guess the reason why I'm asking that in relations to the MGTOW, because to me, MGTOW, like you said, that seemed like that's the natural step for any man in this current society that is waking up. He actually gonna first go MGTOW. He gonna do exactly what you said. Why I'm doing all of this? What's my return? But then,
Right.
but saving yourself, he was saving it, just living life here in this country, especially for a black man. If you can function, you literally saving yourself every day. Like, I mean, you saving yourself every day. But now, when you realize that the goal that we all thought that we were saving ourselves for was garbage, we hit that MGTOW state. So that I don't even know if that's really needed, I guess, in this conversation.
When you
And
say needed,
B1,
I don't
go ahead.
understand what you're saying or
Like
what you're
she
asking.
she asking about the spectrum. I guess the how what's the divide or the difference in or the range in those different types of
So
ideologies, right? That
so
was
It
my
so
kind of
so
like
understanding.
it like
Go ahead.
acidic, and like you have like you know, like the pH balance, like the spectrum, like you know how the color change and shit. So that's how she trying to phrase it as, or like have us like look at it. You know what I'm saying?
well the
Or
best way.
is it like something like that, or it's like you either in this or that? You know what I'm saying?
Check it out.
Like
Check it
so
out.
go ahead.
Wait. Hold on. The best way I can answer her question is this: MGTOW and SYSBM are closer to being alike than B1.
Yeah, B1 is far from all of this.
B1
I think
is
SYSM will be in the middle for sure,
B1 seemed like it's part of the problem.
not exactly in the middle, but I get what you're
somewhere
saying.
around it.
So
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is just this is for Maggie that B1 is like the extreme opposite of the other two, damn near.
Right.
B1 is, Umar Johnson. Okay? That's B1, right? And there's this idea that, if you're not B1, then you don't care about black people, and that's not true. It's just that what people need to stop doing is trying to shame black men into, into this old shit that ain't been working by using like black identity politics shit. It's like what they're doing with black men in reference to voting for Kamala Harris and shit like that. Well, you hate yourself and you a coon and all of this and all that if you don't vote for Kamala Harris type shit. Well, first you would have to be black in the first place,
Right.
right? Don't sell some shit to me as black and then tell me that I ain't black because I ain't supporting the fake black chick. Now, if you take blackness out of it, like I don't give a fuck what she is, but she's not the person that I would support just based on a bunch of shit outside of her blackness. Yo, isn't it a debate tonight?
Yeah, it is.
What time is that? Because I don't want to hold motherfuckers on here while that
I
shit is
mean,
on.
I don't even know, bro. That's a good question.
Well, I'm gonna Google it, but at the end of the day, man. So to answer that question, B1 is pretty much straight up blue pill black shit.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
Right. So it's a step backwards from what we try because what the problem with B1 philosophy is it does nothing to correct women and everything to praise and enable them. It does everything, when you talk to these B1 dudes, it does everything to criticize black men for not being like, masters of the universe motherfuckers in America. To be honest, I feel like B1 and pro-blackness is close to white supremacists than you think. I've said this in past videos. Because what it does is it uses a lot of that point of view to throw black men under the bus for not, giving black women this kind of like this perception of white womanhood that they're craving. And shout out to Shay Sade, but she did a couple of videos recently where she touched on some of this stuff. And I was in her comments basically saying that, a lot of black women's issues with black men is that, they want the white woman's perceived lifestyle, right? It ain't a motherfucker in this chat that ain't never worked nowhere and a white woman was working on the job with them. They got this idea that white women do nothing, are at the crib, you know, eating sushi and watching TV while they man out there conquering the world. This is what they think the average white reality is. Not the 1%, not the 10%, but your rank and file white man is out there making 6 to 7 figures while his woman is at home wearing Chanel and Gucci and eating sushi and shit, right? That's what they believe. And they're looking at black men like, why we ain't got that shit? That's why when you hear 6 figures, they think that ain't no money because, you know, even Kevin, who a lot of niggas hated and a lot of more women hated, was telling them like, yo, like, it's only this percentage of black men making this money, but they think it ain't no money. But these bitches ain't got no money, right? But going back to what we was talking about before, you know, there's a lot of, you know, men in certain generational groups that were raised by either women who feel this way, or they were raised by men who were raised by women who want black men to remain a certain way while giving women a kind of like modern outlook, a modern approach to dealing with men.
Mhm.
And
But that's the thing though, like those the men that you're talking about are the men actually here, bro. Like actually like talking to people, talking to the younger people, you know what I'm saying? I'm not finna say no names, but we already know these people, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
they were raised by in those situations, so they're trying to give their input to something that's really not like outdated to a certain degree, just to put it that way, you know.
So, let me, yeah, my man said debate starts in 1 minute.
Oh damn, 9 o'clock, huh?
I would. Oh, debate starts in 1 minute. Oh shit,
Yeah.
6:01. Oh shit. So, damn. I guess I don't know what y'all. I want to. If we want, yeah, I want to keep the party going. We can keep the
Man,
party
you can
going.
rock out, bruh. Shit, man.
Cause I mean, shit. Look, we could bring this shit in here live. We could do that too. But so Maggie says ideologies are always spears. The more entrenched it is, it eventually turns around on itself and meets the other side. Balance is always in the middle. I agree with that. Leon, before I go to you,
I was kind
uh,
of saying that earlier too.
so let me see. Full Metal says, you did a show a while ago called Know Thy Enemy. Listening to the Black Manosphere, I find most of the cats on here to be soft for bees, period. You didn't see that in BGS or GG. No, I've always seen that. I want, you know, and no matter how many times I say it to cats, what I tell people, I said, yo, these are the guys I came in the door with, right? And you know, especially with BGS, like these are the guys I came in the door with. It's like if you hanging out on the block, and I told AM1 and Sly this, if you hanging out on the block with your mans, like everybody got you know, a dude in their crew that they know he a different type, a nigga, but that's they man, right? It's like you let it slide because that's your man. You grow up with him, or maybe he held you down in a time of need. But outside of that, he might be a different type of dude. And you don't agree with everything he say or do, but that's your man. That's your man, right?
And it ain't like you still ain't got love for bro, you know what I'm saying? You just disagree. You feel me?
Now, as far as BGS, I don't have hate for BGS. Absolutely not. Now, what he feels about me is up to him. I don't beg for friendship. Never have. I do not beg anybody to be my friend. That's who I really am. I don't care. Right? I don't got hate for the man. He serves his purpose when he serves his purpose. But we disagree. Now, the shit went where it went because he wanted to do that. Now, he has a bigger audience than I do, so he can tell them a different story. And more people will hear his side than will hear mine. The people who come to this corner of YouTube will hear my story and then weigh it out. As far as Gigi is concerned, that's a totally different thing. Right? That's a totally different thing. Y'all heard the videos he did. To this day, BGS might have said this and that about me, right? Or he might have said, oh, Marcus came at me, da 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 da. He didn't do what Gigi did. Gigi violated, and he did it 3 times. 3 times. Okay? Try to hash it out with the dude. He kept on coming back. And it's like, okay. And again, me and Gigi is just like me and Masante Bay. We had communication off this YouTube shit. Me and BGS have never had a conversation off the internet. Regardless of what MOT tells you. Me and BGS have never had a conversation. It's not that I wouldn't have. It just that's the reality. We've never had a conversation off the internet. So no, I already knew what it was. You got to remember, I told y'all before, I sniff the simping niggas. So it's not like it wasn't something that I peeped. Y'all think I'm blind to this shit. It's just, no, I'm letting them rock because these are my mans. But then you make it into some shit. Now I got to say what it is. I was letting you live. You understand what I'm saying? Truth teller, what's going on, bro? I see you in the building. So, yeah, shout out to, my man, I see my man Think a Mill. So, shout out to Full Metal for that. So let me see, Marcus, you gonna cover the debate, keep it rolling in the back while you and the bros comment on it. I might do that. See, because I know Trump is gonna roast this shit.
It should be interesting.
So real quick, because you haven't spoken yet, right?
Yeah.
Leon.
So
First, huh?
go ahead.
First, two things, right? First, your opinion on a Lil Wayne shit. If you give a fuck. If you give a fuck.
No, really don't.
Okay, so let's go to the topic at hand. So we talking about, the generational gap, shit like that, and the message that I feel that a lot of the older generational dudes, especially whether it's in the space or out of the space, want to deliver to the younger groups of black men in their, in their pursuit for this or that with women and their need or want or desire for a family and this and that and the other. My position is niggas are telling the young dudes to go about it the same way that didn't work for them. What's your feelings on it?
So I look at everything on a spectrum. So you rarely see me argue with people about the little details if the principle and the direction that we all want to go in is the same. Most of the arguments that take place in this space is guys wanting guys to do it to their detail. And my thing is, if I take B1, right, guys that say they're B1, I can say his ideas align more with hoteps and polygamy. His ideas more align with high value traditional family structures from white people.
When you
So
say his, who you talking about?
I'm just talking in general.
Okay.
So some brothers believe in polygamy, some guys believe in traditionalism. And the framing of their traditionalism comes right from white people. That idea of what a woman's place is and what their place is and how things should move. I'm not against it. It's your personal choice. Me, I wouldn't pick traditionalism because I'm not going to break my back. I'd rather have a tribe. And I've argued with guys over the tribe, and the end result is like, you're not making $1 million and whatever. So you got to use all the tools that you have. So when I hear B1, what I see is guys that go outside of the pro-black space where when you think pro-black, I don't care what anybody says. Within pro-black, there are pro-black men, there are pro-black women, and there are LGBTQ within being pro-black, regardless. Even though black males are the center of it, those are the communities that are interconnected to pro-blackness. So when heterosexual men, when we have the center stage, black women are still going to the white community, cutting deals with them, and the LGBT people still go to the LGBT white community and cut deals with them. So when I hear B1, it's guys speaking more from a patriarchal mindset that they can't even use in their own community.
Right.
And usually the backing of the argument is their status or wealth and why they should
Right.
have polygamy or a traditional wife.
So
And
go
how
ahead.
they want education for black boys or they gear everything towards black boys. But when you enter back into the community, you still got to negotiate with the LGBTQ and black women and intersectional feminists and womanists that are all in your fucking community.
I think that, and I'm gonna say this, and then I wanna hear some of this audio from this debate. Right. I'm gonna let it rock for a second. I think
Well,
that.
before you do that, can I ask a question on this?
What's
Wait,
up?
hold on. I
No,
want to
no, no.
say
But
this
you let it rock. Go ahead.
real quick. I want to say that quite often, black women and B1 men like to use black children, right?
Center stage.
They like to use black women as devices to
Hmm.
pull on the strings for black men, right?
Yes.
Right. They like to use it. It's almost like, like do what the fuck we say, or I'll shoot the kid type shit. Right?
Yes.
If you don't a black man, if you don't do this and this, then the boys ain't gonna eat. The little girls ain't gonna eat.
Well,
Black women like to
keep it
use they
100.
what's up?
Just think about what you're saying. So you're well aware that they're taking uh one of their foots out while having it still inside. So they're still centering the women within B1 because they're still going back in the community with them. So they speak a patriarchal or their view of how they want things to go. Then they go back in the community and they're not pushing that shit because it's more about we need more guys to speak up so we can be acknowledged in these ideas. But when it comes down to it, the women are going to win because that's who the white people talk to.
No, I get that. What I'm yeah, but I'm just saying they like if you don't give a fuck about none of that, then they be like, but the kids,
But the
right?
kids,
But the kids,
you have to help the kids.
little Johnny, like if you lead a community, little Johnny, he ain't gonna make it. And I see a lot of dudes in the space get caught up with that. They like
Well,
to use they like to hold the kids ransom against niggas to keep niggas
yes.
in the conversation. I want Mr. Me Too to ask you the question because I feel like we might be missing some good shit here.
Okay.
But
Now go ahead and let's check out these two.
so let's let the sound rip off this.
Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact.
It's not what he said, though.
Got here.
Hold on.
Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie.
I really want to say something.
I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to because, again, 2 things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening.
It's not what he said, though.
Abortion bans.
Keep it
Couples who
100. The only thing that annoys me about the abortion state thing is it's going to be on the stage every single year. If they approve it, then next year they take it away after 2 or 3 years.
Right.
That's going to be annoying as hell.
I've heard about that whole 9-month thing. It's not the first time I've heard that. He didn't say that, there were places where they did abortion like that. But what he did say was that there are people that support that, right? They support a woman carrying a baby for 9 months and then terminating it, or terminating late-term pregnancies. I've heard late-term pregnancy shit. Abortions for late-term pregnancies. I've heard that. The other thing that was said that was interesting, they talking about the tariffs. There's a lot of things that Biden and Kamala did not reverse from the Trump presidency, right?
Yeah. A lot of those things they kept up.
Yeah, they kept it, right? And not only that, but there's a lot of things that she's promising that Trump is promising. So again, my position is the same. I'm not a fan of neither one of these people, but at the end of the day, it's like listening to them talk, right? Listening to them talk, like, we already know how Trump talks. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this is theater for me, right? This is him roasting her, but like the thing about what he said about the student loan shit is true. What Biden and them, what they tend to do is they tend to promise things that they can't deliver because they won't get it through.
Yeah. On top of that, keep it 100. You heard me say multiple times that this election season is going to be the same as the last. It's going to be 50-50 in the House of Representatives and Senate. So when you talk about Project 25, there's no way that they can get it.
Right. They can't get that neither.
There's no way.
So the Democrats are scaring motherfuckers with this Project 2025 shit. First of all, she said Trump's 2025 project. It's not something that he put together. It's not his, right? That's something that no matter who the Republican candidate was, that they would be trying to push, right? It's not his thing. Secondly, again, we live in America. This idea that Trump is going to get elected and then, it's going to be, the fucking, the Sith empire type shit, like immediately, like, it's crazy. It's fear mongering, right? To an extent, right? But bigger than Trump, we do have to recognize that this is something that the Republicans do want to push at some point, right? So then there's that, right? So she's making it about.
The last thing I want to say, like I said, I hate the fact that abortion is now with the states because it can be on the ballot every 2 years, 2 or 4 years. To vote on it again, so they can lose it, gain it, lose it, gain it, and that's the annoying part about it. If you get what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't care, and the reason why I don't care is because whether a woman had a kid or not was not something that they asked our opinion of anyway. Remember, we ain't got vaginas, so it's not our business, right? And I maintain that. Like, I don't like Roe v. Wade is not really a deal breaker. Deal maker for me. That's a conversation for women to have with these politicians. It has nothing to do with us.
Right. I agree with you on that.
Because it never has anything to do with us. If we want to keep the kids, they can decide they don't want to, and vice versa. And what they like to do with the Roe v. Wade shit is they like to use rape victims and incest victims and shit like that, so that women will have another abortion option. I mean, another what they use abortion as birth control. To me, abortion is birth control option, another birth control option for women, as far as I'm concerned, right? You know, they trying to escape pregnancy for the most part. We know that women use abortion like they use birth control pills or more so, right? So whatever with that. Oh, they give a fuck about the incest victims and the rape victims who, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they make the exception, and Trump has just said, I make the exception, I believe in the exception. He can't then tell the state, well, because I believe in the exception, then you shouldn't apply, or that you should apply the exception. So her saying, well, you know, in some of these states, they moving past the exception. Remember, it's the states to vote on it. So the state can vote whether they want the exception or not. Right? It's not on him. He just said where his position was on it. So why are you trying to tie that to him? Right? So I just, you know, I think it's a little bit disingenuous on her part. But
on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as the rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people on television saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why
my dog was taking shit as a bit much.
I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in. And all over the world, crime is down. All over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes. Election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault. His next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear. Where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired.
How's she gonna bring down the price of groceries?
Man, her rhetoric is wild, but she didn't even want to talk about what he was talking about. She just went on her little spill, her little fruit salad, you know.
You saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice
to
President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
There's two other branches of government.
Last run for president.
Weaponized, please.
We gotta
This is the
continue.
one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a
President
fake Russia investigation
We do have a lot
that
to get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every
Railroad.
that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times. We are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase.
Hey, bro, somebody said they in the back.
Hey, Chris. Hey, I see you, Chris. Yo, she getting him a little bit.
Related to having a friend when I was
Somebody,
in high school.
somebody in the back. Hold on.
A stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done. Protecting seniors from schools have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of
response?
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of
1 million.
billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it.
He's not lying.
At least
He ain't
12
lying,
and
bro.
probably
He's
14
not
or
lying.
15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Sound familiar?
Don't lie.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. if she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of it. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days.
Yeah, she's not the person that you could do the started from the bottom. Now we're here. Like, she talking about his father gave her money. Like, she come from some poor family.
Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, well, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. But I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville.
Yep.
Where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? there were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up.
What was debunked?
This stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all. I said it sarcastically, you know that. It was said
Was that?
sarcastically.
When he said there were good people on both sides, there was a sentence he said before that, but to say that there's good people on both sides, but one side has tiki torches and Nazis is kind of weird. But I
Right.
get it.
I was
Yeah,
told if I got
yeah.
63, which was what I got in
I
2016.
remember that shit vividly.
You can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders.
Nah, he need to leave the wall shit alone.
Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did want.
He's right about that vote shit. Now, he's promising walls, she's promising, or Biden's promising, the college loan shit. Like, they're making a lot of promises. Neither one of them can deliver.
There's many.
I mean, what's your problem with the wall,
They said
though?
we didn't have standing.
No, I'm saying
They said we didn't
I don't have a
standing.
problem with the wall.
Technicality.
My
Can you
problem is
imagine a
him promising
system
the wall,
where
but he
a
can't
person
just
in an
affect the
election
wall.
doesn't have standing? The president of the United States
Like we
doesn't
getting a
have
lot of
standing.
promises
That's
that
how we lost.
they
If you
can't
look at
make
the facts,
happen.
and I'd
He
love to have you do
he
a
criticized her for
special on it.
promising student
I'll show
loan
you
debt
Georgia,
forgiveness.
And I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania.
Because they couldn't deliver it. They got to get it through Congress. He couldn't get the wall done for the
That's
same
true.
reason. So I'm just saying,
Because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline. and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom work with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just tell you about world
That's
leaders.
crazy coming from
Viktor
her, but
Orban, one
okay.
of the most respected men. They call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban
I got a joke about that.
said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making.
Really.
President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so
They ain't about to tell Israel shit.
on that. Work
Yeah,
around the
they need
clock.
that
Also
space.
understand we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and an equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel.
Or what will you do when they violate?
Where we can
But
rebuild
you know
Gaza,
that's
where the Palestinians
who's gonna.
security,
So we're gonna pay to
self-determination, and
rebuild Gaza while they
independence
continue to blow it up. This like,
Yeah,
come
pretty
on,
much, man.
fuck out of here.
And also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza.
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either.
That's
by the
my
way,
man.
For 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up.
Joe
Far worse than
Biden out
people
here.
understand
Put
what's
these
going
bombs on
over
your
there.
border.
But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel.
He's talking
Israel
crazy
will
now.
be gone. It would have never happened. Iran
Can I
was
say something real
broke
quick?
under Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Now
hold
Iran
on,
has
hold on. Let me lower
$300
it.
billion.
Yeah, he's talking.
Okay.
She hates this and she hates
So-
that.
No money for
So
I
the
mean,
thing
they both
about
love Israel, man.
Right.
the thing about Israel and it not existing is because their GDP is so low now. Because it started in 2020 when they put out bills that news agencies could not boycott Israel. They did this before, so it was like 35 states and it went to 45 states, and now you can't boycott them. So what people did was not buy their products if they're invested in it. So when people went to the store, they're not buying Oreo cookies and many other things because it funds that war.
Let's keep it real.
Yeah,
It
let's
doesn't
go.
matter when it comes to this Israel shit. It don't matter who the president is.
They gonna get any
Yeah.
money regardless, man.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who the president is. So they, look, neither one of them can control Israel. They could tell us, hey, we think it's wrong and this and that, but they're not gonna do nothing. And to be perfectly honest, like I'm more interested in the whole Ukrainian shit and why we're still over there. And then, even this, like we could talk about all our tax money going to Israel, but we can't pin that on the tail of either party. Like that's an American thing.
Yeah. And
That's
I
an
don't know
Amer-
why Trump is trying to do that. Like, nah, we're not even gonna do that, bro.
Yeah, that's an American thing. It don't matter who's in office, right? But her saying, what she's saying, it's like because right now
That
they're in
what
office.
she's saying ain't gonna happen either, man.
Right, they're in office now. She's a vice president now, right? So she's talking about what she would do if she was president. But what are you doing now? You're
Yeah.
the VP now. Like, what the fuck is going on, yo?
Yeah, like she didn't put anything in motion for them to have like their own like section in that area. And if you ain't do that these past 3.5 years when you was in there, like that ain't happening.
Including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
Why they
Right
keep
back
cutting
with
them
much
off?
more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia.
'Cause he can make a reply, but he can't have a whole 5 minutes to rant.
So earlier, one of the guys in the chat was like, it seems like a 3-on-1, and I agree. Like I feel like the two debate people, the people interviewing the both of them, right? I think that they're siding with Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't see them asking her any like hard hitting questions, right?
It's kind of like every time Trump get done saying something, they like, oh well, fact check this. It's like, well, you ain't really do that for her. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Now I'm trying to be as objective as possible, right? Because again, like I'm not a partisan motherfucker, right? So now there's a couple of things she did say, like I remember that that shit in this with the tiki torches. I remember all the shit that Trump did when he became president. You know what I mean? It's not shit that I would tend to forget, and the energy and the spirit that he put into a lot of motherfuckers stateside when he ran shit. You know what I mean? That he ain't really do much to calm that shit down, right? So there's that, right? But it's like what we're dealing with either choosing to rock with that, or we're dealing with all the weird shit that the left is bringing, with whether you want to talk about migrants or whether you want to talk about the weird shit with the kids. And I'm not somebody that apologizes for saying what the fuck I feel. When you talk about tampons in boys' bathrooms and shit. Did y'all see this?
Nah.
So they're putting tampons in like women's menstruation products in boys' bathrooms now.
Yeah, girls are boys. They got internal penises. It's all good. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing that.
Right.
I
This is
don't know what to
news.
say.
So this is what I'm saying. Like all this weird shit. So just understand, like this is a choice of two. This is two evils. This is really no lesser of the two evils here. They're both equally evil. It's just you got to pick your evil, right? So yeah, Trump's a racist and all this other shit, right? He has demonstrated a lot of bias towards people who think this way. With him, we got all this wild shit, the Tiki Tor, all these incidents, right? That he didn't directly criticize. I remember when he came into office, he came with a bunch of motherfuckers, the Breitbart dude and all this other shit. This is not shit that I forget. But at the same time, like I said, it's either you deal with that. It's like, okay, for everybody that's woo, woo, woo for Kamala Harris, just understand that you ain't winning on that side either. You don't just not get anything, but you lose. When he says that, she's bringing a bunch of people in, and Adrian pointed out that she also promised the wall. So he promised the wall, she promised the wall. We didn't get the wall from either one of them. All right, so they got Tyrese hemmed up for child support, right, which is related to the shit that we was talking about earlier. But I don't, me personally, I don't think either one of them are a good fit for anything that we're talking about, right? I don't give a fuck that she is black or that she isn't black or that she's a woman. All that shit is irrelevant. What's relevant is what we've had. Both of these motherfuckers have ran the show already. Like they've had the job.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like when people talk about Kamala Harris, they talk about her like she ain't, like she's
Like she
oh,
haven't
she's
been there before. Like,
yeah,
nah, man, she's been here, bro.
like motherfuckers. The defense is, well, she's not the president, as if the president is the king or something. Like when people say this, they let me know they don't understand politics. Right? They let me know they don't understand how the shit works. Like these motherfuckers don't sit in a room together and have these conversations and you know, it's the party. Right? Just like the party told old Joe ass, yo, bro, you gotta step down. It's a wrap for you. Right? You think Joe was like, you know what? I quit. No, the party told him, hey, bro, put her up there. And he did say, you know, about the primary. And that's real. Let's hear a little bit more.
You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more, because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect,
talking wild
and
now.
what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when
You gonna end the war with a conversation, yo?
he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point
That
of
ain't happening.
negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even
Right.
know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
I've said if niggas think that Weekend at Bernie's is really running the country, they out of their fucking mind.
for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris.
Correct.
On support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as commander-in-chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war
Bitch, you are Biden.
4 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president,
I don't care.
would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Ukraine tonight, Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier.
She's lying.
I'll give you.
She's not telling the truth.
Would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost
I mean, really,
300,000
if somebody
men and women.
was allowed
but he
to
would-
place bombs at my border after there's already paperwork not to put bombs on my border, and Ukraine agreed to it, and they do it, and so you advance on them, it is what it is.
Yo, do y'all care about this shit? Like this shit that they talking about?
That threatening, but he does have that.
No, it's good for people with short-term memories.
Yeah, it's good. It's good banter. You know what I'm saying?
I'm talking about this
It's good
whole,
to
you
have-
know, the Ukraine people must be free type shit.
Man, they don't really give a
Listen.
fuck about these people, man. Up in Ukraine, neither do
There's
they
so
give
many-
a care
there's-
about the people in like Israel, man. You know.
I don't know one Ukrainian woman in Texas that wants to go back to Ukraine because they got babies now in the United States. But
So,
that's another
A-
topic.
Adrian says he cares, and I want him to elaborate on that in the chat if he can't come up. He says, I do. He cares about it. You know,
She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate.
I mean, at the moment, it really don't affect me. Not to be cold, you know.
my thing is, it's like, okay, you know, I'm sure that there's purposes for what they're doing, but at the end of the day, it's like, yo, like,
bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another.
I feel like it wouldn't matter who was president. I don't think that it would matter.
Cause I mean, at some point, Putin was gonna try to do that anyway. You know what I'm saying? Now I don't know. Maybe it would have went different with Trump, but you know that you can. That's kind of iffy on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like him saying, yo, that's my man. So, you know, if I was the president, I would have told him, nah, yo, Vlad,
Yeah, that ain't
chill.
happening. Woo woo woo. You know
Yo,
what I'm
chill,
saying? Like,
chill, Vlad. Yeah. Nah, don't do that. What? I don't know.
About democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander in chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as
doing
of
it in
today,
Ukraine.
there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where
So what?
we and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David.
You know what a bad deal was? A bad deal was Brittany Griner for that motherfucker they gave up. That was a bad deal.
Of the president of the United States to be
Remember that?
chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was...
Why you send me picture of house?
But we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left
You
many
would have shown them the
Americans behind.
picture.
And
Yeah,
we
your
wouldn't have
daughters
left-
are there.
we
Your
wouldn't
kids
have
are there.
left
You say what?
He showed them the picture of his house with his family in front of it, pretty much. Like, yeah, we will drop this bomb on you.
I've done shit like that before. I ain't gonna say who I did it to, but it's a name that floats around this space sometimes.
They didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country.
Thank you.
Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Me neither.
Cold work.
If it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent.
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less.
It matters because you're playing the racial identity politics shit. That's why it
All I
matters.
can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career,
This would be the moment for her to
attempted
say,
to
I
use
am a
race to
black
divide the
woman.
American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us
Say that
know
again.
we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't
This
want
would be the moment for her
this
just to
kind
say,
of
I am
approach
a
that is just
black woman.
constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And
Even
let's
though I don't look at
remember
her like that.
how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families.
This is real.
Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
This is real.
Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this.
Want better than you
Want
too.
someone
Shit.
who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your...
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden.
Yes.
The worst inflation we've ever had.
Hey, they both cooking
Horrible
each other,
economy
bro. I don't
because
know.
inflation has
Yeah,
made it so bad.
Yeah.
And she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up,
I
Lindsay.
want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond.
Yeah, she
briefly.
is Biden. Let's make this clear. She is Biden. Don't get it
Copy
twisted.
and paste it, bro.
And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan.
I've picked up on both of their styles.
And
He's the hyperbolic, right?
plan
He's hyperbolic,
to give
and she's, you know, she sells this hope shit.
to pursue.
We can be.
They both good at it, to be honest with you.
They suck.
Like, I mean, bro, people fall for it. We gotta understand, bro. Like,
This is
we
true.
are like the smarter individuals around here, man. But the normies, bro, they fall for it, dog.
I have a plan.
And we can all live together in harmony and hold hands.
To be able to pursue
Why? Why vote for a man that talks so bad? We love each other and we can sniff flowers and run through the...
payment assistance for first-time
Man,
home
they
buyers.
sniff that shit like
That's
cocaine,
the kind of
man.
conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
Yeah, that ain't
Defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay,
that's what her
Hey, got
plan is
Leon in the
until
back
just
again.
recently.
I just need to
President
respond.
Trump,
No, the
President
former
Trump.
president has
No,
said
I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I
gonna
just need to
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this. I inherited
doesn't have a plan.
Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it.
The only
They were
thing you can
unanimous.
do is go to true government health care.
You say what?
The only thing you can really do is go to true government health care.
You mean universal?
Yes.
Right. But yeah, that answer means he doesn't have a plan.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're
Because it
looking
didn't
at
work when
things.
it didn't work when he tried to take it away because he said, "Damn, it's going to leave
Right.
millions of Americans with no health care."
Right. He didn't remove that like they didn't remove the tariffs.
Yeah. Because it makes sense. It just simply
Right.
makes sense.
Right.
And so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if
Yes, you see what they doing?
Nah, we
now?
can't do that. Nah, we gotta have a plan, brother.
it's better and less expensive.
Can't do that.
No,
But you
'cause
know,
it's-
but
it's
you
not
notice
clear.
they're not. Look, I agree with y'all, but what I'm saying is, you notice
They're not
what
pushing.
they're not pushing her
Yeah.
the way they're pushing.
Yeah, they're
him.
not giving her no
To do away with
pushback.
private insurance,
Right.
create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said,
Arizona, John DeCane.
no, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
pass as
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue.
She got him on that.
A mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the
Through Hillary
Democrats
Clinton.
that kept it going.
Right.
And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you.
Ask both of their asses what they do about Flint, Michigan.
The climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as Vice President over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been Vice President. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News president.
Yo, we fucked either way on this, bro.
It's pretty much cooked, man. It's cooked, bro. I mean, I'm gonna just say, I mean, if I had to go out, I'm gonna have to go with Trump. Just saying, bro.
Well, if you take a look at it, if you can get these 20 million immigrants to do the lowest level of work or production, you can save them. You can still build shit here, but that's getting them up and running, and that's going to take some time. But yeah, we're fucked. I want to buy that China SUV I saw. That shit was bad.
Oh, it's like an EV?
That shit was fire. Yeah, that shit was fire, man.
Yeah, I noticed. Yo, we don't import Chinese vehicles. Y'all peep that?
They have
but they want to make it in China now, like Ford and GM. They want to make all that shit in China and bring that shit back over here. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get.
Yeah, because they can't compete.
That's what they plan on doing.
Right, but you know, tariffs, right?
So the tariff was 27%. Then Joe Biden, I think a month ago, if I'm right, he signed a bill for 100% tariff. So basically, if they try to sell a $50,000 vehicle, they would have to sell it for $80,000. So it wouldn't compete with a Chevy or Ford or Honda Accord or whatever else. You know what I'm saying? So basically, they can produce it for 30% less than we can sell it. So you have to put 100% tariff or a 27% tariff on it to make it higher than the price of the equivalent vehicle.
Yeah, but you know, like I said, man, You know, there's both sides of this shit is just like it's like yo, like whoever win this shit, it's like okay, brace yourself for some shit, right? Brace yourself for some fucking shit, bro. It's like yo, either fucking way. It's just pick your bullshit. It's just pick your shit,
Yeah,
man.
either one. Yeah, pick the one that's aligned with your pockets, man. You know what I'm saying?
You know, all the shit that she's talking about, all this all in together now shit, like knock it off. That's number one. Knock it off. You know, they talk about, you know, Obamacare and this and that. You know, again, this is Obama. This idea that they not, you know, I get people debating me, oh, you know, they're in office right now. They could do all this shit right now.
Yeah,
It's
like,
just,
but being second in command is damn near right there.
well, especially if your actual president can't get a coherent sentence out half the time. Right? This is I said it's still on my Facebook. I could pull a post. I said that this, you know, getting Biden in was the backdoor Kamala. I said this years ago. I said this when they were running. Right? So it doesn't surprise me at
So,
all
like,
that they're running.
how you feel about them not like having a primary? How you feel about that?
No, they didn't give us a chance to vote for somebody else. If you know, they're talking about democracy and how he undermined democracy, they did that when they did that. I think both of them are undermining
Right.
democracy in different ways. Right? So like he did what he did with the Capitol, but then, you know, she just assumed the candidacy. She crowned herself, I'm the candidate. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't see a primary. You know, we weren't
Yeah,
able
it's
to,
just
you know,
blatant corruption at this point. You know.
right. It's just crazy. Like on like I said, man, it don't fucking matter who up in there, man. I don't want to talk about what's happening in Ukraine or what's happening, all these places that they got shit really to do with us. Again, this is a bunch of money going other places. Then you bringing people here that you giving a bunch of money to, and you telling them like Trump
And
gave
the
us
motherfuckers
12.
here gotta fucking fend for themselves type shit. Like nigga,
Right,
figure it out.
No,
right.
it's never been that.
Bootstraps.
When
Boot.
you look to history, they gave people $5 Indian status, they gave people land, they gave people education from everywhere. So they just didn't put these people out here. Then it's like, okay, find a job. They gave them socialism.
Yeah, but who you talking about? You talking about the people that just
Just
got here? Who you talking about?
Talking about like white
anyone
people.
from 1920 past then, all those people got resources so they could
Yeah,
get started in the
yeah,
country. So it's triggering under the condition
yeah.
we are
But they
in.
look, they doing it. It's the same premise. What they're
Hmm.
doing, in my opinion, they're bringing these people in to affect the demographic to vote for them.
Demographic
They
and the low wage workers, tax money,
they look.
etc.
The Democrats, the left, know that they're losing the black base slowly.
Hmm.
So now, what you got to do early is bring in people, just like what they did with Ellis Island when they imported a bunch of people. They're importing people to affect the census numbers, right?
Yeah.
You have they don't import people from brown and black countries. They import people that you can call Caucasian while being Hispanic, Caucasian,
We,
Hispanic.
we got about 750,000 Asians and a few Africans too, but it's not close to the 19 million that
You talking about that with
whitish.
these are the migrants? You're saying migrants, or these are
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah,
applying
no,
for visas?
just totally in all, it's about 750,000 blacks, but then there is still 19 million Hispanic or white. You know what
Well,
I'm saying? So it's
we talking about you talking about the population in America, or you talking about
no,
migrants?
the migrants, immigrants, illegals.
Okay,
There's about I think they said 750,000 blacks, but what I'm saying is in all there's 20 million. So that's only 5%. That's
right,
bullshit.
right.
Will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever ask them, are you okay? And that's the kind of
You hear the
president
fake
we
cry?
need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Yo, we got caught up in this debate, so we're gonna have to do part 2 of the old niggas gotta go.
She's going to do that.
Yeah,
She's
we
gonna do all
gotta
these
have a part
wonderful
2,
things.
man.
Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution.
Yo, this is a good comment that I got up on the screen right here.
All over the world and from all of us here at ABC News.
Yeah, they done. So, yeah, hold on, let me drop this share. So, Lance says, what's confusing to me is that isn't the whole Obamacare thing the government directing you how to take care of your body, not to mention the shot? The shot. Are we forgetting, right? The shot. That was government telling you how to take care of your body. And that was Biden.
My woman had to take that shot while pregnant, or she would lose her job. And you know, I like my women working, so.
Yeah, man. So look, check it out. We gonna jump off of here, man. We gonna have to do. Hey, look, we gonna have to do part 2. Old niggas gotta go. We got caught up in the debate. I didn't want to make motherfuckers choose me or the debate, so we decided to do the debate here. Forgot that today was the debate. Should have did this tomorrow, but we are gonna continue this discussion about the traditionalism. And when I say traditionalism, I'm talking about, under the context of, black culture traditionalism. That shit has to go, yeah. So we'll continue with that. But, yeah, I appreciate y'all for jumping in here, man. I'm going to let y'all rock. Yeah, we got caught up in the debate. So we going to reconvene, the Red Pills Part 3, second half or whatever the fuck I call it. But we out of here. Peace out.
Peace out, 100.
100.